Hey everyone, welcome to the BlastCast. I'm Jarvis and I have a Lightning Dragon with me here today. As you probably just noticed, I changed the opening a little bit as far as how I introduce everything. I want to kind of bring the show back down to a more casual, human being kind of level. So let's talk about Star Citizen this week and also a little bit about what's going on the rest of the year on both this channel and with CIG. As a lot of you have heard, 3.4 is actually now in Evocati testing. Now if you looked at the production schedule, you'll notice that 3.4 is more of a content patch according to what they have listed there. It's largely, as you can see on there, ship variants. For example, the only freelancer I don't own is the default one. So this patch for me brings in all the freelancers that I actually do own. But it's pretty simple and pretty straightforward.
Your freelancers will blot out the sun.
I do have a lot of them. On Reverse the Verse, they showed off the Carrack a little bit, and there's been a little bit of disappointment on the forums about the changes. It sits a bit lower, and it is, I guess the rooms shrunk a little bit. They got rid of the corridors that were actually between the rooms and kind of mashed them together a little bit to make everything fit the appropriate size without making the ship too big, so it could still land on landing pads that wouldn't require the largest of the landing pads, allowing you to land anywhere. Now, personally speaking, I don't mind any of these changes. Now, well, there is one. I don't like the yellow glass. I wish they would have stuck with the blue-silver tint, but that's cosmetic and it's not that big of a deal. A lot of people have been comparing the ship to a dog or a Dachshund or a lizard because of the way it sits now, real low as compared to the concept. But it has all the functions and all the features that it was supposed to have. Well, with the exception of one, it doesn't have its own specialized rover. I guess it's just going to be getting the Ursa rover. So no special rover just for the Carrack. As far as the fighter that goes in the back, the snub, some people are concerned that it won't have quantum drive, or it'll basically be a Merlin. We don't really have any details on any of that, so don't know for certain. We'll have to wait and see what the stats are before we make any snap judgments on that. Now, because it's getting close to Christmas and the end of the year, CIG is taking a hiatus on a lot of their shows, and you really can't blame them. They've had a heck of a year, and with 3.3, that's a lot of content to push out, and 3.4 has got to feel to some extent a little bit like a vacation after that. So if there's no news to report, we're not doing a show. There could be no show for the rest of the year. So we're going to continue doing other shows with other games, having fun, and I'm recording them now as we play. So as we talk about any topic that comes up in gaming, whether it's Star Citizen or other things, I'm going to go ahead and just make sure you guys can be part of those conversations.
So this Carrack thing that people are upset about reminds me a lot of the Vanguard, how the concept art didn't match the end product. But with the Vanguard, there was a lot more than just like, oh, they changed the track wheels to wheels or something. Which, if you think about it, makes kind of some sense, because tracked wheels on a spaceship is kind of weird. It was cool. I mean, everybody liked that. But it's something that, in retrospect, it's like, that's not really a big deal. There was other things that they changed on that weren't good. But we'll make some extra work for Jarvis here. If you look at the original concept art, and you had linked it in the chat earlier, yesterday or the day before, and you look at the original art, the landing gear is like 3 stories tall. It's absolutely huge, and to have it collapse up into the ship would be either a lot of work for like animators and stuff, but not to mention, if you look at it as a realistic type of vehicle, that's a big weak point.
Well, that's the thing, is that they said that the landing gear actually stayed outside. I guess it was external, the way it was before, and
Which
it was
is even worse.
So yeah, the way that they did it, so they brought it so that it's internal, is it also frees up assets. And let's face it, Star Citizen can use a little bit more of that right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, the ships often end up getting bigger. But one of the things about the Carrack versus some of the other ships that have been redesigned is the Carrack, kind of like the 300 series, and even the Hornet. They're some of like the very first ships that came out. So they drew up this concept art, and they're like, here's this ship we want to do. And it's like, well, it's great, but we have these other things we need to get to. And now they've come back to it after years, actual years of experience in making these things. And when they start building it, they realize, oh, we can't make it like the original concept art. So they made it bigger. And I think people might be upset because they made some of the interior like smaller, which, having recently walked around in the Hammerhead, I can kind of see that point, because the Hammerhead feels very claustrophobic. And if you pictures of corridors on like an aircraft carrier or something, you have headroom. You have to have headroom, because above you, usually there's like all the pipes and things like water or steam or any kind of other things. And you need that room, especially for like taller people, and you save space on like the doorways and stuff. So making it smaller internally, I can kind of agree with. As far as the external, it looks pretty damn close to the original.
Yeah, they say it's a few meters bigger. It's really close to the original size, and they originally it had grown quite a bit, but then you remember how I played in Elite Dangerous? I had the Python, and the reason I never went any larger than the Python was because what I liked about that ship is that it could still carry a good amount of cargo and do other things, but still land on every station, because it didn't require the largest of the landing pads. And that was a big selling point of that ship for me. So if the ship grew and became much, much larger to the point that it would have to land on the same kind of landing pad as, say, the Reclaimer had to land on, having gone down to planets or moons or whatever now multiple times, you know that you come across those little stations that just, they don't have good places to land or the right size pad, or the bigger you make the ship, the harder it is to find a nice level landing area. So they also said that because it's, kept a smaller form, that will fly better. It'll have less mass to push around. It will be a faster, more maneuverable ship than it was before. So there's a lot of upsides to this, and I really don't see this as being an issue. And it looks, I would say, about 95% on target from what it looked like originally. They did a good job. It's the little details. I don't think we should get lost in all that, because as Lightning says, these concepts are years and years old. It's like, here is a general direction we're going with it, and this is what we want the ship to be able to do. So is it recognizable as a Carrack? Absolutely. Does it have every function they said it would have? Yes. Some of the details about those things inside the ship, like, as I said, the rover, and exactly how that snub fighter is going to work, even, there's a landing bay in there, but what's the nature of it? Those still, not entirely clear. But I think we need to give them a break on this and not be so harsh. There was no way that they were going to make a Carrack model without someone complaining about it, or at least a good chunk of the community complaining, no matter what they did. So I think they went with the most logical route of making it the most efficient in-game engine and bringing that original kind of scale and size right into the project, keeping it so that you don't have this obnoxiously large ship that can be a bit unwieldy in the wrong situation. I mean, it's an exploration ship. You try to land on a planet, the bigger the ship, the harder that's going to be. And that's why I have a Freelancer Dur, I have a 600i Explorer variant, and I have the Carrack. Now, each one of those is for a different function. And I have the Terrapin too, but that's to go in the back of the Polaris when I need a scout or something like that. But, the Freelancer Dur can be operated by one person. Just take it out there. And the 600i is like your mid-range Explorer. And you got the Carrack, which is like the one that the reason you'd want to have alternate character accounts, so that you and all your friends can play on this character in that ship on these days when you're all together, and then if not, you can play on something else, because that's your deep space, nowhere near civilization Explorer. It's the only ship in the game, I think, that can pretty much do everything. It's got a med bay, it's got drones, it's got a landing craft, it's got a snub fighter. It is really kind of, in some regards, the ultimate ship for doing everything in Star Citizen, with the exception of possibly data running. But those modules are swappable, so who knows. Anyway, that's really all we wanted to say about the Carrack, and I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. I really have no complaints, and we'll see what the final form looks like. And as I said, we're going to be taking a break for the rest of the year, and I want you to take a break too. I mean, this is the season. It's really stressful during holidays. You got to shop for presents. You got all that savings you had set aside all year. Suddenly now just turn into ash. And just spend time with your family. You know, we'll be back, and we're not really going anywhere. We're just not really, there's nothing really to report on as far as BlastCasts go. And if you have a question about a system or mechanics or things we may have covered in the past, and we have a lot of videos now on this channel, so if there is a mechanic that we covered and you don't want to dig through a vast amount of videos, leave a comment down below about what you're looking for when it comes to a discussion we had, and I'll be more than happy to go ahead and look through my archives and see if I can find that for you and give you a link, maybe timestamped if I can pull that off. But you know, there's a lot of new subscribers, so they may not be aware that there's certain topics that we have covered. Alright everyone, well, if you don't watch the other shows and there's no more BlastCasts for the rest of the year due to, you know, the whole news cycle, I want to wish you all a merry, happy, whatever holidays. I don't know what the terms use anymore. Is this whole political
I think it's
landscape?
Happy holidays now.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, I hope it's a good one. All right, guys, we will catch you on the next one, whenever that is.
Bye-bye.